Hey everybody, Mr. G here to do the DOL with you. So hopefully you've already taken the DOL, and then after you take it, you should be watching this video. Okay, be sure you're watching and paying attention. You should know your score by now. So if you did good, then great job. If not, then that's okay. That's why we're practicing. Okay, but either way, I need you to watch this video. Okay, and pay attention. Here we go. A coffee shop has 280 pastries. During the morning, some of the pastries were sold. After midday, 130 pastries were left over. Which answer choice best represents one way to find the number of pastries sold in the morning? Okay. So they had 280 pastries. Some were sold. At midday, they had 130 pastries left over. They want to know which one of the answers represents how to find the number of pastries sold in the morning. Well, we know that 280 is the total. Okay, so let's look at A. A is a subtraction problem. Okay, it is blank minus 280 equals 130. Now, in subtraction, the total goes in the front. Okay, so if you look at A, 280 is not in the front, so it is out. Okay, now let's look at B. B, 280 we said was the total. So 280 is not in the total box, it's in the part box. So we know that B is also out. Okay. Now let's look at C. C is 280 plus blank equals 130. Well, if we have 280, we cannot add anything to it to get 130 because it's already past 130. So C is out. Our answer would be D. Now, let's look at why it is D. Okay, so 280 is the total. Here you have your number line. Number line is counting by hundreds, right? But we need to figure out what the marks are in between. So from 200 to 300, let's try tens. 10, 20, 30, 40. Nope. Let's try 20s. 20, 40, 60, 80, 300. So yes, it would be 220, 240, 260, 280. So the line represents 280. Okay. Now we see the arrow going backwards, so that means it is subtraction because it's taking away from the total. Taking away from the total. So 130 is what was left. So let's see, we have 100, and it doesn't go to 100 all the way again, so we have to count. So this was 100, so we have 20, 40, 60. 60. And then we add those two together and we get 100. Did I do that right? 20, 40, 60. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next one. Janazi and Sophia want to visit their cousin that lives 789 miles away. They travel for a while, but they still need to travel 321 more miles to arrive at their cousin's house. Which representations can be used to find the number of miles Janacy and Sophia have already traveled? Select two answers. Select two answers. Some of you may have gotten this wrong because you only chose one answer. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. So, their cousin lives 789 miles away. they've traveled for a while, but they still need 321 more miles to arrive at their cousin's house. They want to know which one represents how to find the number of miles they have already traveled. Right? So we know 789 is how far she lives. So 789 is our total, right? Okay. Now we know where our total goes in each one of these. Okay. So when you're adding, the total is going to go after the equal sign because that's what it equals, right? When we're when we're subtracting, the total goes in the front because that's what we're subtracting from. Okay. Then in a strip diagram, we know that 789 is the total, so it needs to go in the whole, not in the part. Okay. So now let's take a look at our answers. A says 321 plus 789. Okay. So 789 they're adding. So 789 should be in the after the equals. And yes, it is. And then you have 321. So this would be a maybe. B, 321 minus blank equals 789. So if we have 321 minus blank, 7 equals 789. Now 789 goes at the end, but when we're adding, not when we're subtracting. When we're subtracting, it goes in the front. Okay? Because that's what we're taking away from. So B would be out. C, 789 plus 321 equals blank. Well, we know in an addition problem, right? The total goes at the end after the equals. That is not it, so C is out. Let's look at D. D is a strip diagram. If you look at the whole, it's a question mark, and the two parts are 789 and 321. Well, we said 789 was a total, so it needs to be in the top box, so D is out. Now looking at E, 789 is in the whole box, so that would also be a maybe. Now we have our two, it would be A and E. Okay, let's move on. All right, here we go. Dennis and Juan played a game. Juan scored 339 points. Dennis scored 75 more points than Juan. Which strip diagram can be used to find the total number of points both friends scored? So Juan scored 339. Dennis scored 75 more than Juan. Which strip diagram is used to find the total number of points both friends scored? Okay, so let's think about this. Okay, we're going to think about this. Do we have a total? No, there is no total because in the question, they want to find the total. Now, if you're going to find the total, that means they don't have the total. That's why you have to find it. So we know right away that the whole box, the total box, needs to have the question mark. Okay, so let's take a look. A, 339 is in the total. You have 75 and question mark in the part. We know the total needs to be blank because we don't know what the total is. Okay, so that one would be out. Okay, B, question mark in the total. Leave that one alone, maybe. C, again, this one we don't even have a whole box. So that also would be out. D, we have the question mark in the hole, which is what we want. So now we have to move on to a next step because we have two of them, okay? So we know Juan scored 339. Dennis scored 75 more. Well, in order for Dennis to score 75 more, first he has to score the same amount as Juan to be even, right? So first they have to be even, and then he can score 75 more. So we're looking for two 339s and then a 75. So let's look at B. B says 339 plus 75. We don't have two 339s, so that would be out. If we look at D, two 339s and a 75, that is our answer. Let's move on to the last one. Santiago had 572 marbles. He gave away some of the marbles and then had 98 marbles left. Which equation could not be used to find the number of marbles Santiago gave away? So he had 572 marbles. He gave away some and had 98 marbles left. Which equation could not, in big black letters, not be used to find the number of marbles Santiago gave away? Okay, so we're looking for the one that is not the answer. Okay, so Santiago has 572 marbles. So do we have a total? Yes, 572 is our total because that's how many marbles he had. Okay, now if he's giving away marbles, is that adding to his total or subtracting from his total? Right, it's subtracting from his total. So let's take a peek at our answers. If it is not subtraction, then it is out, right? Here's where we have to be careful because it says which equation could not be used. So let's look at A. A says 572 minus blank equals 98. B, 572 minus 98 equals blank. C, 98 plus blank equals 572. D, 98 plus 572 equals blank. Okay, so we know that in subtraction, the 572 has to go first. So let's look at A. 572 first? Yes. B, 572 first? Yes. Okay, but the 98 is in different spots, right? So let's think about this. 98 marbles is what he had left. Okay, so do we know how many he gave away? No. That's what we're trying to figure out. Trying to figure out how many he gave away. Okay, so if he has 98 left, it's going to be 572 minus something equals 98 because that's how many he had left. So A would be out because it's the correct answer, but they want the one that's not the correct answer. B, 572 minus 98 equals blank. Okay, that would not work because it is telling us they took away 98, and that's not what they did. We don't know how many they took away. So B would be a maybe because it would not be the correct way to do it. Okay. C, 98 plus blank equals 572. We know in an addition, the total needs to go after the equal sign. And it does that here. So let's leave that one alone. Let's go to D. 98 plus 572. We know that's out because the total should be after the equal sign. So D is out. Is it? I don't know. Think about it. Right. It's not out because it wants to know which one you could not use. Okay. So let's look at C. 98 plus blank equals 572. Well, we know the total goes after the equal sign, so yes, that one is correct, but they want the one that's not correct. Okay, so here we are, we're stuck between these two right here. Okay. Now, let's think about this. Okay, so 572 minus 98. If we did that, it would give us a total, and it would give us the total of how many marbles he gave away. Okay. So that one would be a correct way to do it, but they want the one that's not correct, so that would be out. Now, again, D is the right answer because it needs to equal 572, and that is not correct. So this is the one that we cannot use. Okay, here we go. So now what you're going to do is you're going to be sure you turn everything into the Friday box, and you will work on your playlist until it is time for science. And we will see you on Monday.